Matthew, what do you think the end game is for Saudi Arabia and for President Trump in sort of initiating this split between Gulf nations, telling Qatar to rein back its support for extremism, and then saying, well, if you live up to these conditions, we'll come back to the table and we'll work together again?
Well, I think it's very important that they get Qatar to change their behavior, and there's every indication that they will. Whether they'll adopt the plan in its entirety that Saudi Arabia is putting forward through that level of diplomacy, we'll see. And of course, Qatar does have leverage, having the U.S. Al Udeid air base there. But the United States needs to not lose sight of the fact that Qatar is behaving outside the norm of what we'd like to see, or what the United States would like to see. So we need to push them in the right direction, and look, what is happening today by everyone ganging together against Qatar, it could signify many things. A lot of the things that it could be signifying are overly optimistic, but one of the things could be an issue is that these states have understood that by supporting so many different Islamist groups and exporting them, that they come back to bite later, and it causes more problems. Qatar has had to pay no price because of its homogeneous population, its wealth, and because of its distance from the center of the region's conflicts.
Matthew.
So once it knows that there's a price attached, that could make a difference.
Matthew, stay with us. Mohammed, what Matthew is saying, the description of Qatar as supporting terrorism over some time, supporting extremist ideology, having a lot of money from oil and not having any blowback, that also sounds a little bit like Saudi Arabia.
Exactly, and it sounds even like other countries in Europe and maybe in North America. Saudi Arabia even goes as far as supporting more extremist groups than Qatar does. They're both involved, ironically, in Syria in supporting groups that are considered terrorist groups by international community. So what Saudi is doing by accusing Qatar of supporting and financing extremist groups is something that is doing. In fact, the Muslim Brotherhood isn't even considered a terrorist group by the U.S. Only Hamas, and recently Hezbollah is only considered a terrorist group by the Gulf countries, and we know that it is in Europe. So both sides are at fault of supporting and sponsoring certain extremist groups in Syria and Yemen and elsewhere.
Matthew, should President Trump, should the U.S. administration be holding Saudi Arabia accountable also for its exporting of extremist ideology?
Absolutely. But what we might be seeing here under this Trump administration, as opposed to under Obama, is they're going to do that behind the, they're going to do that below the radar, essentially. They're not going to be out screaming as Obama was doing to Israel. And I will agree, of course, Saudi Arabia has engaged in very poor behavior, and Trump didn't take the opportunity while he was in Saudi Arabia to say that, at least publicly, or to point to the fact that Saudi Arabia has, including the king itself today, has given millions of dollars to terrorists over the years. But that's why I'm saying that it could signify a hopeful change, and that is, if some of the countries are willing to turn the page right now, then it could be that Qatar hasn't gotten the memo, and when they see that there's a price attached, they might be more willing to get on board, because there's little for them waiting except for Turkey and Iran. Basically, that will come down to the Trump administration being able to sell the alliance as being ironclad enough that Qatar feels it doesn't need to hedge its own bets, thinking that it might as well side or play the middle with Iran just in case the Arab world can't stand up to it.
Matthew Brodsky in Washington, thanks very much for being with us. Quick final thoughts.
Well, I think that the situation will calm down, but I don't think that there will be a resolution to this crisis anytime soon. Kuwait is trying, the U.S. now is trying, but it'll be a few more weeks, if not even months, before the situation gets back to where it used to be.